Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatiga, and welcome back to the Government Channel. It's Channel 9, and today a wonderful special guest who actually needs no introduction because everybody knows Mr. Ron Steele, who's the Chief Executive Officer of GECAC. My pleasure.
It's good to be here today, Phil.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
GECAC. Everybody knows what GECAC is, and it is in your very capable hands and being run so well. But let's start basically. What is GECAC?
GECAC is Erie's nonprofit agency. Back in 1964, President Lyndon Johnson started the Anti-Poverty Act. And GECAC has been designated the Greater Erie Community Action Committee, representing Erie County and designated as the community action agency for Erie County.
Ben Wiley had a little bit to do with that?
Ben Wiley had a lot to do with it. Ben Wiley was the first director of GECAC. Ben served in that position for 35 years and built the agency to what it is today. The agency started out as an agency to advocate and address issues of poverty in the Erie community. And through federal programs, that is the purpose of how GECAC has been established, to address poverty and concerns of poverty in our community.
But you're larger than just the Erie community, aren't you?
Yes, we are. We service the entire Erie County. We're talking Erie City and Erie County, and provide services in all of our surrounding county areas.
Okay. I have a lot of notes here, as you do too.
Yes.
But let me skip off the notes a second here. In your tenure as being there, have those services stayed flat? Have they increased or decreased?
Well, I have been in that position since Ben Wiley's death, and I am starting my 9th year. Since that time, the issue of poverty has continued to be a concern in our area. We have one of the highest rates of poverty in the state of Pennsylvania. The same programs that we have concerns with are Head Start programs, early child development, our education programs for our high school students and GED programs, our workforce development students and adults who are looking for employment and have to be retrained, our aging population that continues to grow as people continue to live longer and stay healthier. The funding that is needed to help people, because there are a lot of people that are in low income levels that have difficult time surviving in our community. Programs are being cut constantly. The funding is being reduced every day when we go in for budgets, and we receive our funding from the federal government. We also receive funding from the County of Erie, the City of Erie, and we receive some private money, and those are the main sources of our funding for our programs. But each year as we come to the table, we receive funding from the federal government that is cut. They have budget concerns, and the state level they have budget concerns, and they continue to cut dollars from our programs. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people to serve when they cut those dollars. Because of the economy and the things that we are experiencing now today, more and more people are in need of services. With the least amount of money that we receive, we still have to provide those services for the people who are in need, and there are quite a few.
More with less.
There's more to do, and there's less to provide the services with. Our programs, we have to redesign our programs and downsize our programs. We cut staff. I have cut staff quite a bit, which is a difficult thing to do. If we don't have the people there to provide the services, it's tough to get out and help people.
I have a lot of questions in front of me, and you've kind of answered them in a general sense, but I think you hit on the key word here, and that's poverty, because poverty drives this. How did we get to be an area that is so poverty-stricken? And this doesn't happen over a month or 2 months or 2 years. It builds up very slowly until it's an avalanche. How did we get there, in your opinion? Why are we leading the area in poverty?
We have some main issues. We're doing a lot of things right. I think that one of the main concerns that we have in our community, and I think everybody has come on board and agreed that education is a main concern when you're addressing poverty. We have to educate our young children. We have to make education important in their lives. We know that if we educate our preschoolers, our Head Start children, if we provide them with quality education, once they go into our schools, our public school systems, they're able to function. If we don't start preparing our kids at an early age, they don't learn. And when they don't learn, they kind of get a little disenfranchised with education, and they quit. They drop out, which causes our dropout rates to be high. We're not educating as many children as we need to. In the process of children leaving school and not getting their education, they're not prepared to work in the workforce. So we have jobs that we're not able to provide employment opportunities for people because they're not skilled laborers or skilled and trained. So there's a cycle that goes there, and I think it all starts with our education. I think our educators, our public school system educators, all are in agreement that we've got to do a better job at educating our children at an early age and working hard to make sure they learn.
And this is not just prone to Erie, even though Erie is poor at doing this. This is a problem throughout the state, throughout the country.
It's nationwide.
It's nationwide. It might even be globally.
Yes.
You know, globally. You have a booklet out, Helping People, Changing Lives, and it's a wonderful booklet. I hope you have a chance to somehow to get a hold of this, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of people watching. We go throughout Erie County.
Yes.
How can they help you? Is there other volunteers units that you're looking for? Is there other? You have fundraisers. You have dinners. Always looking to do that. Open field question. Yeah. Go ahead.
We do a lot of services at GECAC, and one of the things that we're able to pride ourselves in is our senior citizens population. We are the area agency for aging for Erie County, and we've been designated
and
that.
We're all getting older.
We're all getting older.
Our population is
That's
aging.
Right. That's right. And we've been doing that since 1974. We're the designated aging services. We have volunteer programs for our seniors through our retired senior volunteer program, our foster grandparent program, and those seniors volunteer
How can
to
they
work
get a
with
hold
children.
of you to do that, to volunteer?
Well, they can contact GECAC we're at 18 West 9th Street in Erie, and our number there is 459-4581. We have an aging division that is managed by our manager, Deborah Manecki, and she is in charge of all our aging programs, and she could provide information on how to get involved. But when we're not able to pay people to do work, volunteer services are essential. We have volunteers pretty much in every program that we run there, where people come in and they provide volunteer services. We have a lot of people in our community that have retired, that have skills, that have a host of knowledge on how to deal with issues and people, and those people still have a lot to give.
Yes.
And we make them aware that we need your help, and that the things that you've learned and the businesses that you've run for 30, 40 years before retirement, please share that information with people, because we still have to grow our community.
And a lot of people out there do have that institutional, historical, professional knowledge that they've carried with them, that they just would like to say, I'd be more than happy to share this. So that number you gave again, and that address, what's the phone number again?
The number is 459-4581, and GECAC is located at 18 West 9th Street in Erie.
Can't miss it. They said you can't miss it.
Yes.
That's really good advice. So you start really, not quite cradle, but you take them right up all the way through.
Right.
And the Head Start program has proven to be successful.
Yes, it is.
And yet it dumbfounds me that the funding streams keep getting smaller and narrower when they know this is a demonstrated workable program. You're not going to see it in 2 months or 2 years, but you're going to see it 15, 20 years down the road. It's a little bit of that Fram oil filter. You can pay me a little bit now, or you can pay me a heck of a lot later.
That's correct.
And if you'd pay me now with these Head Start programs, we wouldn't have these problems down the road. Yeah. Do you have to go and personally lobby for this money? Are you a traveler to Harrisburg or Washington?
We have a great set of legislators here in our community that support GECAC programs and services to people in Erie, and I think we have a good network. So we do have a state agency, our Community Action State Agency for Pennsylvania, that I'm a member of, and we have representatives there in Harrisburg that are housed. And we meet on a regular basis. We have an executive committee, and we do lobby with our legislators when there are issues on the table that need to be addressed. We do it on a state level and also in Washington, D.C. We've got Senator Kelly, and we have Congressman Kelly and Senator, Casey.
Yeah.
We're down to see them on a yearly basis to talk about our programming.
You know, there's been a change.
There has been a change.
Some are staying, some aren't staying.
That's right, yes.
Let me ask you, I like to ask everybody this. Is this what you thought you'd do when you worked? Was this what your calling would be?
It's interesting how I am sitting where I am sitting today. I'm a product of community action services and GECAC services. As a young man, I grew up.
You're local, right?
Yes, yes. I've been here all my life.
We're Lower East and West Siders.
Lower West Side, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm a product of the Neighborhood Youth Corps program, which back when they were providing summer jobs for students at the end of the summer, which they don't have anymore. They cut that program out.
Right.
We were able to work during the summer. We worked in the city and we did different jobs and we earned money to go back to school, to pay for clothing and books and whatever we needed to do to help our families out. But we learned how to work, how to go to work. We were being taught at an early age, and we were making minimum wage, and it might have only been $1.25, but it was a very important $1.25 for the home.
You're darn right.
So that was something that was important, and I was able to come through that system. And Ben Wiley was a mentor of mine at an early age. He was my boys' baseball coach.
Okay.
He came to Gannon University, and through Bud Elwell and Gannon University, he coached my boys' baseball team. So I was around Ben as a young man growing up.
A couple of legends.
Yeah, had a lot of influence on me attending college, and I went to the University of Pittsburgh. But when I graduated and I came back to Erie, my first job was at GECAC. I was an employment counselor at GECAC. Ben gave me a job to help me get started and put me into the workforce. So that learning process continued to grow. I spent over 20 years on his board of directors, chairing the board at the time of his death. And I had been around Ben and the agency and his staff, and I think they were comfortable with me, and they offered me the position once Ben died. And I've been around community action ever since. But I believe in community action. I believe in helping people and how important it is to make sure that people have an opportunity, they have a chance. No one really wants to live in poverty. Sometimes it's the circumstances or the hand that we are dealt, and we have to make the best of it. But we all need a little help. I mean, even at my point of growing up, if someone didn't extend a hand to me and say, hey, we'll help you go to school or we'll guide you to do this, some opportunities may not have been available for me.
You can pay that forward.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's what we have the responsibility of doing.
Yeah, I do too.
And GECAC is the ideal program to make that happen.
Looking in your crystal ball here, where do you see GECAC moving, going, growing, doing? Pretty much what it is, or getting bigger, taking on more responsibilities. I know it ebbs and flows with budgets from political arenas, but GECAC did not start off being as big as it is now.
No, by no means.
Yeah, and it's grown and grown and grown to encompass this huge table here, for example. What other areas would you be possibly expanding into or considering being part of your larger umbrella?
Well, as the community needs change, our programming changes. GECAC started out in the major programs in the beginning were Head Start, early child development, and our aging programs were the main programs, and they still are today. There is a network of over 1,100 community action agencies across the country. We are a member of that. There are 46 community action agencies in the state of Pennsylvania. So it's a growing network, a growing organization, and they're addressing poverty all over the United States. We know that every day there's going to be a need and there's going to be a concern, an issue that people need to address, and it's going to be a need for assistance to the federal government, a need for programming to help change people's lives and bring them from poverty to self-sufficiency. Our number one goal is that if you are in poverty, let's create a situation where we can help you get out of poverty so that you can be self-sufficient, so that you can raise a family, you can work and provide for a family, and you don't have to always run to a welfare program for assistance to make it. And it's a difficult economy right now, and a lot of people are at their ends, but we're trying to turn that around. You know, one of our mottos is helping people and changing lives.
Right.
We strongly believe that we can do that. We have to be very flexible, and I believe we are. Whenever there is a need for a special program, we need to address that. Housing is a big issue. Our veteran population is a big concern. People are fighting in our wars, coming home. They need places to live. They need help. They need education. They need training to get back into the workforce. That's an area that we need to focus on more. We have our aging population will always be a concern. Our Head Start program will always be a concern, because those are meek and fragile part of society, and we have to, that's our responsibility
Sure.
to take care of those people.
You, about this summer, I think it was, maybe in June, Time magazine cover was the number of military people committing suicide
Yes.
because of the post-traumatic syndrome. And it seems that with all the tools we have, and all the technology and all the counseling that seems to be happening outside of that, and they don't know why. I mean, why aren't they getting that help? Why don't they know how to whom to respond? You know, so I'm just saying, I'm supporting what you're saying
Yes.
there, because we certainly have people in our area who've been 2, 3 tours, 4,
Sure.
3, 4 tours.
Sure.
You know, so that is, and again, because we are of a certain age, that aging population, us baby boomers. We're not babies anymore.
No, we're not. No, we're
and
not.
that's a changing landscape that is taking place out there. So I'm hoping that my children are listening to this
Yes.
and are going to take care of Dad, but not everybody. I don't think anybody on poverty chose to be on poverty. And they
That's correct.
went to the line and said, yeah, I'll be poor and live dirt, and I won't have a job, and, you know, and it's easy for people to look into the circle and just castigate them and say, well, you lazy son of a gun, why don't you just get up and go get a job? You know, can you tell the audience why that isn't happening, or why that isn't so, or why do those attitudes still exist, that we still, there's that tendency to look down on those people and say, well, they didn't help themselves.
It's difficult. When you're down, it's very difficult, because there are a lot of avenues that you have to maneuver to get back on top. We always find, and I think in our community and every community, that there's going to be a group of people who are trying. They're trying to get back in school, they're trying to get training, and they're trying to get employment. They have families they have to take care of. That's got to be a tough feeling when you know you can't support your family.
Right.
So in the process of doing that, you're knocking on doors and asking for jobs. You're going different places and asking for help, and the door gets shut in your face. You kind of become defeated. It kind of breaks you down. Sometimes people give up. You've got to have a lot to keep pushing, to keep going at it to succeed. It's not easy, and that's why you need help from people. And you need perseverance. I mean, you have to really go at it and make up your mind and say, I'm not going to stop until I get it. A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people don't have what it takes to do that. So you can never put anybody down. When you're walking down the street and you see people and you look and say, hey, this person is at, and this, you don't know where they came from. You don't know what they're carrying, what kind of baggage they're carrying, and what their life experiences are. We can't pass judgment too quick, because sometimes we may pass judgment and we're entirely wrong when we pass that judgment. You can't tell by looking at a person what type of person it is and what they can do for you.
I think the audience knows by listening to you speak why you are the head of GECAC and why they chose you to be their chief executive officer, because you have all the tools in place to carry the mission of GECAC forward. So again, this is Ron Steele. He is the chief executive officer of GECAC. It has been around for quite some time. In fact, many of the people who are watching could be availing themselves of your services.
Yes.
And you are located right there on 9th.
Again, 18 West 9th Street in Erie, Pennsylvania, and our phone number there is 459-4581.
So if you have any questions, or you want to volunteer for some of the services that Ron has spoken about today, they would be more than happy to help you out. Again, you started with Ben Wiley.
Yes.
Quite a number of years ago.
Yes.
Head Start was one of the stones in place.
Correct.
Area on aging, another, because you had Alpha and Omega, so to speak. And then in the meantime, we've run into poverty problems, we've run into education problems, we've run into family problems, we've run into people with drug problems, we've run into people not being able to get jobs because the work has gone beyond their ability to understand it, or it's just gone away because you don't have the skills to deal with this particular position. And all of that falls on your big shoulders, Mr.
Yes.
Ron Steele, to say, how can we change this and how can we make it go away? Let me ask you the really tough question here. Is it getting better? Do you see a chink in the change? Do you see things improving, or do you still think we're going through a period where we still have some growing to do here. We still have some attitudes to change. We have major areas of improvement. Well, that's an open-ended question.
Sure.
You got an hour. Go ahead.
I believe we are making some improvements. It's hard to see those improvements because of the economy and what we hear. We hear so much about how bad the economy is and how we're suffering. But people are aware of that, and we've been dealing with issues of poverty for years. I said 1964. Here we are today, the war on poverty. We are still dealing with it. And it's a challenge, and people understand it's a challenge, and they haven't given it up. I think even more so today in this community through programs like the Erie Together program.
Talk about that a little bit. Yeah,
the Erie Together program. Yeah, we haven't, but we will. Erie Together program is a collaboration between GECAC, Mercyhurst University, and United Way of Erie County. And through that collaboration, we've formed a group. It's called the Erie Together program, where we feel that poverty is a community problem. It's not just GECAC's problem because we are the nonprofit agency. It's an entire program that needs to be addressed and helped by the community. We're talking business, we're talking education, we're talking the hospitals, we're talking all the businesses and industries in the city of Erie, we're talking all the school systems in the city of Erie, we're talking about all the individuals and families, from people who have a great income to the poor people, that need to sit down and address poverty, because the effects of poverty are across the board and they affect everybody. But we've sat at the table to talk about that, and we've come to a consensus that we all can do a little bit to change this around, and that is true. We've opened up a lot of people's eyes in this community about what we need to do to address poverty and how we can all be players at the table to make things change. We have our Erie Together forums, and we've had two, where we had it at the Bayfront Convention Center, to sit down and have people come down and talk about the direction we need to go, what we want to do, and our concerns. And at the last forum we just had maybe a month ago in November, we had over probably about 600 people that attended that. Our first poverty forum, we had about 200, 300, so we've almost doubled the size of people that were able to come down and express a concern, a genuine concern, because they were in the room and they were listening and talking and sharing about what we need to do and where we need to go. We've decided that we needed to come up with something that we can all agree upon as far as a direction that we need to go and a concern that we needed to address. And while we're all on the same page, it's easier to go forward when we're all marching together than marching in different ways. Right. So we know that education, early childhood, is one of the major things that we're concerned about. We know that aligning education with career development is another area that we're concerned and we align ourselves with. We know that we have to address families and income and the incomes of families, and pay attention to how people are living and adjusting the way people have values and how they raise their families. We also know that workforce development and economic development is very crucial in our community to make it a strong community. So those are four areas that we've identified through the Erie Together program that we've all agreed upon, that this is where we need to be. This is what we need to work on to make it happen.
I know it's going to happen because of you being the head of GECAC. I can't thank you enough for taking time. You have an extremely busy schedule. You made time for us.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come out and speak with you.
Come on knocking anytime.
Well, thank you.
You're always welcome.
Thank you,
here.
Phil.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm Phil Fatika. Until next time, take care.